Welcome to the Wild Food Outdoors podcast with your host, Bradley Joyce. In this episode, I chat with the winner of the inaugural Wild Food League, Lenny Valerio. Let's get into it. All right, well, welcome everybody. Lenny, welcome, man. So happy to have you. Congratulations, you are the winner of the inaugural Wild Food League on HuntLeague. Congratulations, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. It was great participating in the league, and I look forward to seeing how much this develops and continuously participating in Hunt League and the Wild Food League if it becomes a yearly thing.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you really grabbed the bull by the horns on this league. Everybody was so impressed with your dishes. We're going to dive into a lot of that stuff, but I guess just give the audience a little bit of a background on you, kind of where you're from, and a little bit of your hunting background.
Okay, I'm Leonard Valerio, originally from Los Angeles, California. I moved to Fresno, California for college in 2005. There is where I really got my love for the outdoors. Fresno State's 45 minutes from the south gate of Yosemite. Fresno State, you can actually even take classes that you do backpacking adventures in Yosemite. You do foraging
Oh, wow.
classes. And so I did enroll in some of those classes. I even took a snowboarding class. And it's where I really fell in love with backpacking, the outdoors. And then I moved to Texas 7 years ago, and I wanted to take that next step in becoming an active participant of nature instead of just an observer. But I didn't know where to start. And luckily, Texas has lots of opportunity and lots of organizations to help new hunters as myself. And I'm a fairly new hunter. I've only been hunting 2 years, but in the 2 years, I've done some stuff that people have spent their whole lives trying to do. I've harvested three aoudad, I think five white-tailed deer now, two hogs. Went on a nilgai hunt. Didn't harvest any myself, but my hunting partner at the time did harvest one, and we got more lined up this year. Going to go on an axis hunt, going on an elk hunt next year. So I am definitely
Let's
grabbing this
go
bull by
right
the
in.
horns and just trying to make it a
That's
lifestyle
awesome.
change. And I never envisioned myself being this type of guy. Growing up in Los Angeles, a big city, you know, my family were car people. My dad had classic cars for days, and never once did he ever have a conversation about hunting. And he has no idea even how to hunt himself, despite him being in the
Yeah,
military.
yeah, yeah.
So, very excited on the current path that I'm going right now.
It's really cool, man. It's in some ways it's kind of similar, to my own story. I mean, I sort of grew up around hunting tangentially. I mean, my grandfather actually worked for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife here in Oregon, and he hunted a ton elk, deer, everything, a lot of fishing, that kind of stuff. And we were always into the outdoors and whatnot, but I actually personally never just really got into hunting. My immediate family, my parents, never really got into it or whatever. So I just, was kind of in the outdoors. Uh, lots of camping, lots of fishing, but I, started hunting as an adult just a couple of years ago as well. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. And man, you've already had a ton of success. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, I couldn't have done it without the fantastic organizations I'm part of. I joined the Texas Wildlife Association, and they have an adult learn to hunt program. I joined Stewards of the Wild, which is a young professional hunting
Okay.
organization. I joined Hunters of Color, Coastline Conservation Association, Backcountry Hunters, Anglers. I just took every organization I could join, and my calendar gets a little, you know, squirrely sometimes with all the different happy hours you have to go to maintain the
Yeah.
friendships. And when each organization is doing a happy hour once a month, and you're trying to diet and get fit, it's like, man, I have to go to this barbecue place and have drinks with people.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. Those are great organizations. So how did you just kind of search around for that kind of stuff on your own, or did you have, some kind of
Yeah,
initial
I
connection?
was you know, I worked for a pool supply company, so I traveled from home to home, and I had a bunch of customers that would talk about hunting and even tip me in deer sausage. And I was like, all right, I need to figure out how to do this. And I literally Googled hunting how to adults, and then Stewards of the Wild popped
Okay.
up, and I joined their program, and I applied for their mentored hunt. I got selected, so I did my first big game hunt October 1st, 2022, and I wasn't successful. I actually took 6 shots on deer and missed
Oh,
all
wow.
six. Now, I don't want to be the guy that blames the rifle, but they partnered me with a mentor. His rifle was having some issues, so we borrowed one of some guy's bed of his truck and wasn't successful, but it only, made me long for it more. So I put in the work, got my own rifle sighted in, and I volunteered on a few more hunts, was given the opportunity, and I haven't missed a shot
Nice.
since. So I don't want to say it was a rifle, but
But it was the
I'm
rifle.
like 8 for 8 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I remember, when I was kind of deciding to get into it, I just did so much research up front and trying to learn, YouTube University and all that kind of stuff. And eventually got the rifle. And then my first hunt was spring bear here in Oregon. So I was actually in Texas. I lived in Dallas for 10 years. Um, so I was actually in Dallas, but we were moving back up here. So I applied for Oregon spring bear. That would have been 20. So I had to apply in 2021, drew the tag for spring of 2022. And that was my first hunt going after bear in the Oregon
Yeah, so
coast.
yeah, we're both, barely 2.5, 3 years into this,
Yeah.
and it's very addicting, and you don't realize how much of a life change it is, like,
Yeah, yeah. No, and for me too, it's always been about the food. That was kind of the whole reason, I got into hunting. I was like, I don't know if where you're at exactly in Texas, but like we were in Dallas and we would travel quite a bit, like going up to Oklahoma for some, like Broken Bow and some stuff like that for camping trips and whatnot. And we would drive past like all the Tyson chicken plants and and it's just like factory farm chicken, and it's like so disgusting, seeing like like
yeah,
how all that
we actually have
actually
one outside
happens.
of Houston here.
And finally, I was like, got to the point where I was like, man, either like I'm gonna have to be a vegetarian or I'm gonna have to like go out and get my own food. So that's how I ended up kind of deciding to start hunting as an adult. And man,
Yeah.
that first harvest was like super special. I was like, man, okay, I went out, I figured it out, did it. Now I got all this meat, and that's such a cool feeling.
Right, and you're obviously a bigger guy too. You don't think about it that this animal you harvest is going to bring you to tears, and here I am, 6 foot, 290 pound man on the verge of crying. 'Cause I harvested my first deer after putting in all the work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then I've been documenting my stuff on YouTube, or trying to at least, and so it was a little putting that video out where I'm sitting there like just crying in front of the camera was fun. But yeah, man, it's a good time. Uh so everybody was wondering in the league, man, is this guy Lenny, is he a professional chef? Like he's pumping out all these crazy dishes. So what's the story kind of behind your cooking experience and passion, and how'd you get into
So
that?
I've always had a joy for cooking to where, when I was a kid, I would be the kid that would make mom and dad breakfast in bed as, their anniversary gift, Mother's Day, Father's Day. And I had thought about culinary school, up until middle school. But then when you get to high school, you start doing all the sports
Right.
and, you're like, start thinking about college and that stuff falls out of the window. So, and I, fell off for a bit and, I would do Friendsgivings during college and I really loved pushing my culinary skills there. But once I got into hunting, that's when I came across some people that are very talented, like Jesse Griffiths, Kristen Parma, Chris Abigail, Faith Davis, that they have culinary backgrounds. They've worked in fast food restaurants. Jesse Griffiths has been on Meat Eater. Most of
Yeah.
our viewers watching this will probably know who he is. And, you know, talking to these people and interacting with them, I picked up so many skills and just have that passion to like show them what I can do with this stuff. And I have no culinary training whatsoever. Watch videos, I pull recipes from books, and you pick and choose parts of recipes, and you just combine them into
Right.
one. Um, and a lot of people have this notion that wild game can be hard to, you know, take on, but if you just treat it like regular meat, the fear goes away and just get crazy
Yeah.
with it. And if you think my stuff is great, yes, some of my friends, man, like but some of my friends are professional people, and that's what they do for a living. And I told them about this contest, and they're like, "No, like it'd be nice for you to have something to win because they work for Jesse Griffiths. They're on those Meat Eater
Yeah, yeah,
episodes
yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah, you've been able to meet some cool folks. So is that mostly through like the Texas Wildlife Association and
yeah, so it's through the Texas Wildlife Association Adult Learner Hunt Program. So all those people are in Texas. Jesse lives somewhere outside of
Gotcha.
Austin. His restaurant Dai Due is in Austin. And through Stewards of the Wild, like we do a big dove hunt every year. Like it's a statewide thing. All the chapters
Oh,
come and he cooks dinner for
okay.
us. And then he signs his books. He does raffles. He comes to some of our happy hours to just give talks about, how we need to eat more wild hog because it's so invasive here in
Yeah.
Texas. And that's his motto, like hashtag eat more hog. And so I've met him. His butcher, Chris Abigail. I've met her through Hunters of Color, through the TWA. Kristen Parma, she caters for Jesse on some of his hunts, guides for him, and then is our biggest cook on the Adult Learner Hunt program.
Okay.
And then Faith Davis, she's actually a hunter herself. That she worked for Georgia James and the Chris Shepherd, and so now she's taking her skills and adapting them to wild game. And I'm trying to convince her to, hey, let's open up a mobile cook camp,
There
but
you go.
she said that would take away the passion. So maybe one day I can convince her.
Nice, man. That's really cool. You've been able to run into so many folks like that, kind of this early in the whole process.
Yeah, it's and even then, I guess there are times I'm still starstruck, and it's like I can't believe we're having a casual conversation with Jesse Griffiths.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. I mean, that's a huge kind of vote of confidence or recommendation for those types of programs. A lot of people seem, you talk to folks, they're like, oh yeah, I don't know if I want to participate in something like that, but man, when you get all the mentorship on the hunting side, and then you get the opportunity to meet these folks who are cooking up just amazing stuff and see what professionals are doing with wild game. I mean, seeing all that in kind of one spot's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's really nice because on these mentored hunts we do, every meal we eat that weekend is wild game focused. So they, show you exactly what you can do with it. We tackle basic dishes like street tacos, and we do fancy things like, breakfast stratas and, backstrap eggs Benedict, sandwiches,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So in some of your Wild Food League posts, there was a number of dishes that were kind of wild game that not everybody necessarily comes across when they're out hunting. How was it that you were able to get access to some of this meat, like the Nagali and some of the other things that were quote unquote exotic?
So Texas, is very blessed in that we had lots of ranches like the King family bring in these exotic animals, and eventually, like all animals, they get loose and they find their way across Texas. So some of these ranches that we mentor on, there are opportunities to shoot nilgai, axis, sandbar. Our craziest one is there are free range elk in
Yeah,
Texas, and that's our level 4 hunt to where I'm doing that next year, and I get to shoot a free range elk in on a 40,000 acre ranch in Texas. And so some people think it's not actual hunting. It's like, no, we're still doing the backpacking and trekking because it's still a low fence ranch. It's
right.
that you have to have access to the land to get it. And these organizations have blessed me with the
Yeah,
access to it. And in Texas, we have a great drawn system too, to where you can apply for drawn hunts for all of these animals. And even in some of our whitetail hunts, if you come across these animals because they're considered exotics, there's no bag limits on them. There's no means of
right.
restrictions. You can hunt them year round.
Yeah,
So right now, like axis deer are in their rutting season. So if you wanted to go spend a weekend out in the 95-degree Texas heat and go harvest an axis, you certainly can. And I had a friend just do that this
wow.
weekend. And so Texas has been blessed that we have all these crazy things, and they've trickled their way down to these organizations.
Yeah,
And
Texas is
you know,
wild, man.
for me,
Texas is wild for sure.
yeah,
I can't, yeah,
it's like he's like,
the first time I was looking into hunting there, and came across, obviously the Texas Wildlife and Parks, website, and just kind of reading up on public information or whatever. But then coming to the realization that they consider elk an exotic that's like not a managed species was like what. you know just doesn't make any sense to obviously somebody who's like coming from the Western perspective, and you're like trying to build up your elk points so you can actually get a decent hunt and all this kind of stuff. And they got some great bulls in Texas, man. You can just go and pay for it, and like you said, it's not
yeah,
there's nothing that's like I mean, obviously there's high fence stuff or whatever, but there is a ton of hunting opportunity where it's just the animals just happen to be there because they got loose or whatever, and they're not fenced in. and it's fair chase and the whole hunt experience that you would sort of expect out west on these just massive private ranches. And so yeah, I'm looking forward. I want to get back down there at some point and do. I was visiting a buddy who happens to live in Kerrville, and we were driving through town. All of a sudden, this axis buck just comes running down the street in Kerrville, Texas. It's just like, what in the world?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're not allowed to shoot from the road in Texas, but if you wanted to go chase it down and take a knife to it, that's
Yeah,
allowed. So you certainly
that's
could.
wild.
And it's just crazy, like these things that are. Sometimes Texans don't realize how blessed they are and how lucky they are that we have these exotic species. And I have people that just don't even bat an eye every time they see them. Whereas me, I almost slam my brakes and be like, "Look at this animal
Yeah,
right here."
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people who in my limited experience so far of chatting with folks, it seems like people who are really kind of who downplay like private land hunting and are all about public land hunting. Like, uh, a lot of times it comes from a cost perspective, and I don't think a lot of people are really adding up how much public land hunting costs, especially if you need to travel for the hunt anyways. You're spending tons of money on gas and tags and applications and building points and all this kind of stuff. And there's species that you can hunt that are, really tasty in places like Texas where, it's going to be relatively comparable cost wise to, out of state hunt for elk or, some other kind of stuff. And so I think people
Yeah,
can,
exactly. I know a guy that his bull elk hunts are, over $10,000. But if I was to travel to Oregon for an elk hunt, the time off I would take off of work, you said all the extra gear I would need to travel to Oregon, just the gas alone, my giant Texas-sized truck would, cost me 2 grand each way
yeah,
probably. So, but there's plenty of opportunities everywhere, and we just all got to make the
yeah,
best of them.
yeah. So have you done any out of state hunts yet, or you have any on your radar?
I have not. I have not. I also joined the Houston Safari Club, and there's a gentleman I was talking to that they do a spring bear hunt in Arizona every year, and he was showing me videos, and that's a over-the-counter tag that I'm very interested in, and he extended an invitation. So, hopefully that invitation is still there come December, January when we start gearing up for it, and hopefully it just wasn't a little buzzed
Yeah,
conversation,
yeah,
because I would definitely go to Arizona to hunt bear, and I think bear is one of my dream animals now. And for the longest time, I struggled with what I ever want to shoot a bear because bears are my favorite animal. I remember the report I did on them in fourth grade. Coming from California, the bear is on our
right.
state flag, so it's very ingrained in your nature to love bears when you're from California. And I always wondered, would I be able to pull the trigger? And now that I've gotten into hunting, I think it would be the most respectable thing to do is to harvest a black bear and then do some crazy
Yeah,
culinary stuff with
yeah,
it to show its true
yeah.
respect.
I had heard kind of so much all over the place about black bear meat, but man, when I got my first spring bear last spring, it's been one of my favorite meats so far. Like, I prefer it over blacktail deer for sure. I haven't. I've only had like canned elk and antelope, so I don't know what like uh, that kind of tastes like fresh. But so far, bear's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of these notions that some animals aren't tasty just comes on to how we prepare them. And I'm a big proponent of you need to cook the animal like where it's from. Some of these exotic species we have here in Texas, like aoudad, for example, people have never eaten it. They say it's terrible tasting. It's a Barbary sheep. If you treat it like where it's from, a northern African animal, and season it correctly, it's delicious. But not everything should be treated as a white-tailed deer with just salt and pepper.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And the same goes with black bear. I'm sure with people that have negative views of it, maybe part of preparation, maybe the way they harvested
Yeah,
it. All that stuff
yeah.
adds
I
up.
think I feel like the majority of times somebody has like a real strong aversion to a wild game meat. It's probably that like that particular piece of meat wasn't cared for properly, like from harvest to the refrigerator, and there's something going on because literally everything that I've eaten that's been taken care of. I've done my own butchering and everything. Like it's all been phenomenal. So I mean, I guess at some point
Yeah,
maybe
in
I'll
one of the
get something
chapters
that's
we
really
actually,
old or something, but who knows?
I don't know, I've had some big old wild Texas boars that people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, and they turned out delicious. And there was a thread on the HuntLeague app under the Wild Food League. Wally and I were talking about some of the things that we do, and some people think it's blasphemy when we tell them don't rinse
Oh,
your
right.
meat. All that water inside will
Yeah.
saturate that meat. What's on the outside makes its way inside, and then that fat layer on the outside and the collagen, you can just feel the difference when you rinse your meat versus not rinsing it, and that's what leads to some
Yeah.
funky taste. But some people swear I'm,
Yeah. It kind of
you know,
seems like,
burning the Bible down when I
yeah,
tell them
like
that.
some of those things are just sort of these like, hunting legends and lore that just gets passed down from hunter to hunter. And so people just keep doing it. But it's like, I mean, maybe that was a great idea 100 years ago when who knows what else got on your, you were like, didn't have a sharp
Yeah,
knife or like,
ex-
whatever is,
yeah,
you
exactly.
rolled the whole thing around in dirt until you got it back to wherever you were processing, something like that. But
Yeah, before they had gambrels to lift it off the
yeah,
floor, and
right.
like you said, they had one knife for everything, it was their kitchen knife,
Yeah,
hunting
for
knife.
sure. For sure. Well, what were some of your favorite dishes that you made kind of during the course of the Wild Food League and shared with the community?
I'm always proud of the pizzas. I had this crazy idea. I was like, it'd be awesome. Make some wild game pizzas. Take these sausages and do some crazy stuff with it. One of my favorites is Oktoberfest pizza. It's actually based off of a pizza parlor I worked at called BC's Pizza, Columbus, California, while I was going to college. And so it's you take a sausage, a little bit of stone ground mustard, sauerkraut, bell peppers, onions, all underneath the cheese. You top it with Gouda, bake it, and then another spicy mustard drizzle. And I've done that with Nilgai knackwurst, and I've done that with just regular venison and pork sausage blend, and it is
Nice.
phenomenal. I mean, all pizza is good pizza, but when you start adding some of these crazy wild game
Yeah,
sausages you
yeah,
make, it really elevates it. And I think pizza lends itself really well to wild game because I imagine everyone watching this probably has some frozen sausages in their freezers and they're like, what should I do with this besides pan sausage and rice
right.
again? It's like, well, let's start doing some stuff you wouldn't expect with it.
Yeah, and
Second favorite thing, I did like the all dad sausage. I made a maple sausage with that, pan sausage, and I loved that the most because on the elk hunt that I cooked on this year with Faith, uh, one of the guides at our roundtable at the end of the thing, he said, I learned this weekend that all dad is delicious. And so we were very proud of that nobody knew they were eating all dad. They had that myth that it
right,
was
right.
disgusting. It's like, no, three of your meals you had this week were all dad. And we're really proud of
Yeah,
that
that's awesome.
sausage. And then the ice cream. The ice cream. I harvested those blackberries in a state park, or not a state park, a public park here in Houston, Texas, literally in the middle of the city. If you were to Google Memorial Park, it is surrounded by skyscrapers and the medical center. Picked some wild blackberries and dewberries, made compotes out of them, steeped them in cream, and made a blackberry and lavender
Oh, that
ice
sounds
cream.
so good. That's amazing. Yeah, I remember seeing a couple of those posts, and like I actually have a bunch of, still got a bit of bear and a bit of deer still that I need to grind. And I was planning on doing some of it like breakfast sausage, and then trying to do some like kind of cured meats, pepperoni kind of style for pizzas and stuff like that. So I still got to get that done for my last couple animals. Still got a few bags of grind in the freezer to get taken care of. So I'll be double checking your recipe on that maple sausage for sure.
Yeah, and you just increase the maple sausage to your desired level, and I think I want to try and even make like a breakfast pizza out of that. You do some
Okay,
country
okay,
gravy instead of a regular pizza sauce. Crumble that sausage up, crack some eggs on top of it, throw it in the oven, cheddar cheese.
dude, sausage biscuit and gravy pizza. Basically, that sounds like I'm so amazing.
Exactly right. So this is why we got to get that, like HuntLeague cook
For
camp together
sure.
somehow. Like, I mean, we're all probably gained 10 pounds over that weekend. But
Yeah, sounds like Texas will be the place to do it. We can have some folks come in and help us out. Oh man. So a lot of people I think were impressed and kind of maybe somewhat intimidated by just the fanciness of some of your dishes. But what would you say to someone who's kind of just getting started with kind of their whole cooking process and journey, kind of learning what's kind of a one simple wild game meal that you would say is a good place to start?
Biggest place to start is it's more of a an approach. Grind a lot of your meat, and because you can always use that grind to make sausages later, and then if you substitute that ground meat as you would normal ground beef, normal ground pork, any recipe is adaptable and it's not intimidating. Like one of the easiest one you can do is make some ground street tacos. Everybody's had ground beef tacos in their life. Switch that to wild game, and you'll get different tasty notes. You're like, man, this is a lot better than that garbage ground beef I buy at the grocery store in that tube that I can't see through.
Yeah,
And then second thing is, you don't have to go out and buy dedicated hunting cookbooks. Any cookbook can be adaptable to wild game. On my bookshelf, yes, I have the Stephen Ella and the Jesse Griffiths cookbooks, but I pull more out of the international cuisine cookbooks I have. The strictly China cookbook. The Dishoom cookbook. They're an Indian restaurant out of London. I have a Thai cookbook. A bunch of those I pull out of, and you know, you don't have to just Google,
right.
hunting recipes. Just treat it as a substitution, and you'll find that a lot of the fear
Yeah,
goes away.
yeah. The grinding I think is a I mean, that makes it so easy for people just getting. I mean, my family, we're like, okay, probably out of 7 days a week, we have tacos 2 nights a week at least, have a burger one night, uh, spaghetti or something another night with, using the ground meat and the marinara sauce or something, simple like that. So there's so many like quick and easy meals, like you said, that you can just throw the ground meat into. That's a great way to just kind of get started with it.
Yeah, and one of my first meals I ever made, I literally took a box of Hamburger Helper and threw some ground venison in it, because I didn't know where to start at first. My first deer
Yeah,
harvest,
yeah.
and so all wild game is approachable. Just gotta, get to
Yeah,
doing it.
for sure. Um, so is there any other things like just kind of general cooking tips that you've picked up, maybe some from some of these, more professional folks? Something that maybe a new cook would kind of maybe overlook.
Biggest thing is like rinsing that meat. We talked about it a few minutes ago, but even then, people still do that with like grocery bought meat, and it's like, don't do that.
Yeah,
And like I said, it just makes it foul tasting, and a lot of people have been taught that. And even some of the hunters that are on our mentored hunts, that's the first thing they do is grab the water hose because they saw their grandpa do it, and it's like, nope, we don't do that here. We wipe them off. We use air. And then second thing, there are so many Instagram accounts nowadays that these professional people have things out there. Danielle Pruitt's a
yeah,
really good one. She will do Instagram posts and she'll walk you step by step on some of her recipes. And she has things as easy as some of her tacos, and as crazy as she did a squirrel dumpling soup that I was like, all right, I'm gonna adapt that to a raccoon the minute I get one. Um, so it's just getting out there, talking to people, having those conversations, following them on
yeah.
Instagram, and can't tell you how many things are now in my saved folder under like wild game inspiration. You just see things and like, oh, I'll do the
Right.
substitution later. Just 100 posts later, just saved.
Yeah. Nice.
And then second thing, getting a scale, getting a kitchen scale. You have to have a scale. It's 21st century. We don't have to use, cups and sift everything, crazy anymore. Weigh everything out in grams. That's what all the best restaurants in the world do. You get a kitchen scale, they're $20 on Amazon. All your cooking will be that more consistent because you don't realize, a cup of flour, if you pack it down, is going to be an extra 20-30% heavier than if you sifted it. So weigh
Right.
everything out. A lot of people overlook that and they wonder why this didn't taste the same. And maybe that's why grandma would always do the feel test, because she would feel out how many, spoonfuls or grams she would do, and so get that kitchen
Right.
scale.
Right. Yeah, and that also allows you to more easily scale recipes up or down, right? Like it's easier to do the math on the weight versus the volume and all this kind of other stuff.
Correct. Yeah. To where, when I'm making pizza dough for a hunt camp, it's like, all right, my recipe is based on 4 dough balls. I'm like, all right, now if I have 12 people come this hunt, let me triple this recipe because, one or two pizzas always get stuck. So that I can have extra backup, and having that kitchen scale, you can do all the math really easily, write it out on a piece of paper and just start
Yeah, I
weighing.
remember I got one of those uni pizza ovens, and like the first time I tried to launch the pizza, it just all the cheese and toppings just straight onto the pizza stone and burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, I currently have an Udi, and every once in a while I still get stuck despite using the
Yeah.
semolina flour. Um, And I actually got lucky and I took a pizza class here in Houston through a guy named Angelo Milani who studied under Chris Bianca. Chris Bianca has been voted as the best pizza maker in the world out in Phoenix, Arizona. So Houston has given me so much opportunity. Like here I am taking classes from professional chefs for $25 and learning their secrets and tips. But then, an hour south, I have the Gulf of Mexico. 2 hours west of me, I'm in the hill country doing axis hunts. So Houston, yeah, it's humid, but I get a lot of bang for my buck out here.
Yeah,
So
a lot of
all
people
these
don't
opportunities.
realize Houston, I think, is actually one of the most diverse cities in the United States in terms of like different ethnicities and stuff. And so the type you can get really amazing food from so many different cultures in Houston, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like literally right next door to each other. And which is crazy though. No Michelin stars in Houston yet because Michelin doesn't do Michelin stars outside of like Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco in
Right.
the United States. But maybe one day.
Aside from the kitchen scale, are there any other kind of kitchen gadgets that you really like using tools wise?
I'm a big fan of the sous vide machine. They are now affordable for the home cooks. You know, back when I was in college, they were thousands of dollars, and now you can pick them up under for $200. And I think you even had a promo code on your website for one of them a
Yeah.
few weeks back. And I was tempted to not buy one. I already have a Joule, but I was like, do I need a second one? You can never have too many kitchen gadgets. But the sous vide, it's literally a set it and forget it. So you put your meat in. You don't even need a crazy vacuum sealer. You can just use a Ziploc bag and use the water to push the
Right.
air out and tell it what temperature you want it to go to for how long. Tenderizing meat, cooking it, and you never have to worry about it getting overcooked. So I'm a real big fan of using that for cooking backstrap in large portions. When I need it to sear it to make sure it doesn't go past it medium rare, I'll cook it to rare or just under that, sear it, and then it ends up right where I want it to be. So, and then it's great for like meal prepping too. You got family and you're trying to cook food for the week. You can meal prep 10 chicken breasts at once, walk away and come back. It's
Right.
going to be done. It really frees
Yeah.
up your
Yeah.
time.
Nice. That's a good one. I do have a sous vide. I've only used it a couple times so far, I think. So I definitely need to level up my game on the sous vide front. Do you use it as like a way of like when you're cooking at any of these like events and stuff? Do they use it ever as like a way to hold meat just at the temperature before like before serving, or is it more just like get the cook done
Uh,
and move on?
Not yet. Like that, we did talk about that because like on the elk hunt, we did maybe overstretch ourselves with how
Mm,
fancy we decided to get, and so like all right, we got to figure out a way to do things a bit different. So we talked about using a sous vide machine to hold things at temperature, especially like maybe like a hollandaise sauce or something like that. So then you put it in one of those CO2 cartridges, be able to just fluff it up real fast if we held it at temperature. So only use it for cooking for now, but eventually I'm
yeah,
sure we'll use
yeah,
it for
makes
holding.
sense. Makes sense.
I've also even done a whole packer
Oh,
brisket in the
really?
sous vide. So so I've sous vide a 18-pound whole packer brisket, sous vide it for 3 days, put it in an ice bath in a still vacuum sealed, put it in my fridge overnight. The next day, I smoked it to bring it up to temperature because the smoking reaction happens on cold meat. It doesn't care if it's cold, or if
Hmm.
it's cooked or not. So I still got that smoke ring the next day, but I was able to tenderize a choice style brisket and get it tasting like prime brisket because I sous vide it for 3 days and then just use the
That's
smoke to
really
bring it to
interesting. I
temperature.
don't think I've ever
So
seen anybody do it that way. I've seen like do the smoke and then like a sous vide hold for the rest, you know, for like they'll smoke it however long, get it up to their temp, put it in the sous vide, and then hold it at like 140 or whatever, 150 for a bunch of hours, kind of after it's been smoked. This is the first time I've heard kind of doing the reverse. So how did you get like? Do you feel like you got sort of good smoke flavor and penetration about the same?
Oh yeah, it penetrated to where my smoke ring was still, quarter of an inch deep. Still got that bark
Got
on
the
it
bark.
because I put it in the smoker
Yeah.
cold.
Okay.
So then by the time it comes up to temperature, that smoke is penetrated. You get that bark on it, and this was just came across that on the forum one day. I was like looking up like people talking about
Yeah.
sous vides and briskets. Actually, it might have been YouTube. There's a guy that does nothing but sous vide on his YouTube channel. I forget his
Is that
name.
Guga?
Bald guy, does a lot of barbecue. Yes,
Yeah.
that guy, Guga. And so I think somebody commented like how they did it reverse process and it works just fine too, because there is that risk if you have the bark first. There's that risk of you tearing the bag possibly. So that's why he double bags it. Whereas if you want to do it single bag, save some plastic,
Mhm.
you know.
That is really interesting. Huh. So what are you? So you said you're putting it in the smoker cold after you've sous vide it. What are you setting like temp at and that kind of thing? Is it normal?
So then when I put it in the smoker, I'll set it to 225. So then it does come up to that 180 point faster than it would if it was an
Uh huh.
uncooked brisket. But it still takes a significant amount of time to get a whole
Yeah.
pack of
Yeah.
brisket. It still takes it. And I'll put it in like 6 in the morning, take it out like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, put it in a little cooler, wrapped in butcher paper, let it rest, and then slice
Nice. I'll have
away.
to give that a try.
It makes me look like a professional barbecue pitmaster when I am nowhere
Yeah.
near the such. It makes it look like I slaved
Right.
over this, tending a
Right.
fire.
Yeah. So I wonder. I wonder if that's like less risk for it drying out doing it that way.
Correct, because all any moisture that gets from the sous vide, it's sitting in its moisture the entire time. So then when I do take it out, that moisture, that collagen has developed on top of that. So then as it heats up, it's just basting
Yeah.
itself all over
Yeah.
again.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to give that a shot on my next one. I think we have a brisket in the freezer actually that we need to get to at some point here.
Yeah, my friend Jason, he does it with just I think the flat
Okay.
of the brisket, and because it's just him and
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
wife. Granted, it's just me, but I was like, I want to smoke a whole pack of brisket just because.
Right.
'Cause sometimes I'm a little bit extra
Yeah. I
just
mean, you can
because.
always freeze it after and all that kind of good stuff, and just have brisket for
Yeah,
days. So
exactly.
lots of good recipes for brisket. So you mentioned you've been on a few different hunts now. Have any of them kind of stood out as being more interesting, exciting, better than others, or what's been your favorite hunt so far?
My favorite would be obviously my first whitetail deer harvest, but then literally 1 year to the day, I was still part of the TWA Adult Learner Hunt program. I'm now a level 2 where I'm a beginner mentor. I was able to help a new hunter harvest their first whitetail deer at the same ranch
Oh, wow.
I did, at the same exact feeder that I was at 1 year to the day. And to, see his joy on getting that and help him, you know, break down the animal. Because during our program, we teach you how to skin, quarter the animal, transport it. We do A to Z
Hmm.
with you. And so being able to give him that success that I had the previous year was
Yeah.
so rewarding. And to be honest, I enjoyed the cooking and mentoring sometimes more than the hunt itself. It's kind of like taking your kids to Disneyland. You enjoy watching them. Or for me, my niece and nephew, when I go with them, I have more fun than them probably because I'm the crazy
Right.
uncle
Right.
buying them this stuff and taking them on rides. So same thing with these hunters, helping them harvest their animals is
Yeah.
so rewarding, and being able to give that back to them because this community helped
Yeah.
me do
That's
that.
awesome. That's really cool. And it's awesome that you've received already so much from those organizations, but you're already able to give a lot back through those programs as well. So love to see that, and hopefully more people will follow your lead on getting involved in those kind of organizations. um, Man, this has been so cool. Like, we had such a fun time in the HuntLeague community with the Wild Food League. We had quite a number of participants posting up regular stuff with their harvests, what they were cooking. So that was really cool to see. First time we've run the league in conjunction with the HuntLeague app. So we had quite a few really awesome sponsors. So I just want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors before we wrap up here. Howl for Wildlife. Um, if anybody out there isn't familiar with Howl for Wildlife, go check it out. Get involved in conservation. It's a really easy way to participate in the conservation process and the kind of a little bit of the political process around just communicating with our stakeholders. Finex Cast Iron, some of the best cast iron out there. I'm sure, Lenny, you'll be looking forward to that one. Uh,
My first dish I'm gonna make is I'm gonna tackle that stroganoff. Mine's gonna be a little bit different, but it's gonna be like, all right, guys, here's Lenny's take on the stroganoff using
nice.
his
I
Finex
love it.
cast iron skillet.
I
So stay
love it.
tuned for that.
Steel Port Knife Company, another local Oregon company here, contributed an 8-inch chef knife. They have some just beautiful, beautiful knives. Crew ovens, wood fired ovens. Looking forward to seeing some of your pizzas come out of that. And hopefully powered by the cutting edge firewood. So if you're cooking, live fire cooking, man, cutting edge firewood, great company to check out. Kiln dried, they got all different kinds: hickory, apple, maple, all different kinds of hardwoods for cooking. Also, just general firewood too, if you're into that. My Medic contributing a first aid kit. ThermoWorks, man, one, if I would say, and we talked about kitchen tools, a meat thermometer, a quality meat thermometer is going to save a lot of people a lot of frustration. So check out ThermoWorks. Grab yourself a ThermoPen 1. Forlo, also a sponsor of the Wild Food League. They are contributing their Field Knife 1.0. Thanks to Forlo, American made gear. Also, Go Hunt. Man, I use Go Hunt as kind of my research platform for just trying to understand different hunts that are out there available across the Western states, all the point systems, researching how to accumulate points, what hunts I might want to go on. It's a great platform for that. So thanks to Go Hunt for sponsoring. They also have a Maps platform, which is really solid. Aquatab is also a sponsor of the Wild Food League. So next time you're out in the backcountry there, if you need some little extra water purification, they'll have you on that. And then Harvest Guard, reusable canning lids, contributing to the Wild Food League as well. So thanks to all of our sponsors for the Wild Food League. Man, this was over a $2,000, I think, prize package. So excited to get all this stuff out to you and see what you're going
Yeah,
to do
it's a
with
great
it,
prize
man.
package. I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm already, my wheels are turning in my brain like, all right, what are the first things I want to do? So, stroganoff first, maybe some crazy pizzas. I just picked up some snow geese pastrami from a buddy of mine. I traded him some all dad ragu. So, I think I'm going to do a Reuben style of a pizza to where maybe do some Thousand Island as the base, the sliced pastrami, some sauerkraut, grated Swiss cheese on top, and then maybe a spicy mustard drizzle on top of that.
Well, awesome, man. It's been great getting to meet you, chatting, obviously watching your journey within the Hunt League, but also just everything that you're doing with your cooking. It's really inspiring. I know everybody that was in the Hunt League was definitely inspired to level up their game watching you and your posts. So yeah, we'll run it back. We're gonna hopefully be starting the next season of the Wild Food League here in July. We'll recruit you to be on their judges panel for next year, and yeah, hopefully we'll just continue promoting
Perfect.
wild food and hunting, ethical hunting, and all that good stuff. So appreciate you participating, and congratulations again, man.
Thank you. And then do want to get a shout out to my competitors. I was pushed by them, Wally, Dairy Ridge Outdoors, Bromo Hunter. Those guys are posting some gnarly stuff, especially those lengua tacos they made, the stroganoff. So I was like, I think it was in April they started upping their game. So I was like, I got to up my game even further. And that's when I was like, I'm going to do this ice cream and I'm going to do this snow geese beef Wellington. So, they're great competitors. They gave lots of words of encouragement. And so thankful to have them as part of this community too, so that we can all just, keep helping each other elevate our culinary
Absolutely,
skills.
absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll continue to just grow the Hunt League app, grow the Wild Food League, and just keep sharing all this amazing stuff. So thanks again, man, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck with your hunts this coming season, and we'll keep watching your recipes on the Hunt League app. Thanks for listening to the Wild Food Outdoors podcast. Head on over to wildfoodoutdoors.com for more content and exclusive coupon codes just for the Wild Food Outdoors community.